Welcome, I'm Drek, your unofficial, self-appointed mouthpiece of Generation X. I want to sit back today and I want to talk stereotypes. Let's talk some Gen X stereotypes. I mean, number one, when we were young, we were called the lazy generation, the slacker generation. We were disconnected and didn't care. And really, I think that was a carryover from the dirty-ass hippies that partied around and did what they did through the 60s into the early 70s. That wasn't us. We weren't the slacker generation. What we were is we were the beat-down generation who were told from the beginning that what we did wouldn't matter. It all been done. There was nothing significant left to do, and we had no actual futures. But then again, we proved them wrong, didn't we? Look at where everything is at now. It is wild, it is free, and it is insane. But then you have the other stereotypes. Actually, not even stereotypes. Let's just talk these Gen X tropes, okay? Like number one, the whole drink from the garden hose. Yeah, a lot of kids drank from the garden hose end, but there's the one side of that garden hose thing that people never told you about, okay? And that was that usually that was at the end of the day. You were dying of thirst. You wanted to go inside. The adult would not let you in. A parent would not let you in because they did not want 14, 15 dirty-ass little runts running through the house, making a mess. Stay outside, use the outside tap. And the reason we drank from the hose is because we didn't want to take the time to disconnect it from the tap. So you'd crank that on, but that hose had been sitting out there in the sunshine for about 10 hours full of water. And that first kid would always be a dumbass. Grab that hose and go to take an immediate drink of water that was probably pretty darn close to boiling temperature. So after the gagging and the spitting and the swearing subsided and the things started to get cooler, and that same kid that took the first drink would still be holding that damn hose, would take that drink, and finally the cold water would come, and then everybody would share in the glorious freezing cold nectar of fresh water from the dirty garden hose that had all sorts of crap on the outside. And you know what that was? That wasn't unhealthy. That was building an immune system. That's why so many of us didn't have to worry about the whole COVID-19 virus, because most of us had a good immune system. Next, I want to talk about our playgrounds. Our playgrounds are definitely different than they are today. Unlike others, you know, they got their playgrounds and they do their stuff and it's all padded and it's soft and they got little sand and they got everything is set up nice and the slides are plastic and everything's plastic and the swings are, you know, they're, I don't even know what the swings are made of anymore, but ours are made out of rusty, greasy oil chain link on a wooden bench that you sat on and would get slivers and it would flip and it would jerk and the whole thing would bounce around. And the slides, they were not just made of metal, but they were like a polished stainless steel slide where usually the finish was worn off and it was starting to look brown and everyone is like, it's not wear and it's not rust. That was the burnt skin and blood of all the kids that went down that thing before you. As you burned your ass sliding down that thing in the summer, and we all know how hot metal gets. Because even if you didn't get to the playground, you knew how hot metal got because of the seatbelt. We had metal seatbelts at the time with them, and now they're all plastic covered buckles in the car for your seatbelt, but they weren't then. They were metal. And that car would sit there, and the sun was shining in and getting that thing red hot. And we all had burn welts at one time, the shape and size of a seatbelt that would sit there across your midsection. Because it was so hot, you got in and you touched that thing to your skin every time. And every time the parent would be, watch the seatbelt, it's hot. And you'd burn yourself. And they would chuckle. And they would say, I told you to watch out. That's just a couple of them. You know, our playgrounds had a whole bunch of rotted nails and wood and rusty nails and concrete at the bottom of everything. You'd have the fireman poles now. They would have them for you to slide down on the jungle gym. And yeah, they might be anchored in with concrete, but they got 2 inches of sand or some foam crap or wood chips on top of it now. Not when we were. It was a concrete pad at the bottom. And many a kid would slide head first and go whap and get that concussion. That's what we did. That's how we rolled. Literally, that is what we did. And you want to talk, do we? No. We don't want to talk about other crap and the other Gen X stereotypes because a lot of them don't mean shit. Because we got the stereotypes and the Gen X tropes and all that stuff. But what about you guys? You got a lot of stereotypes too. First off, we always considered the millennials to be just whiny. They whined about everything. Boo-hoo this and boo-hoo me and you don't get me. Nobody cared. We didn't really care. Still don't care, really. And then you got the Gen Z, which, yeah, they are our kids. But man, oh man, I gotta tell you that maybe there should have been a little more knocking upside the head and a little less of ignoring them and letting a failed system raise our kids. That's where we screwed up when it comes to our kids. Gen X, we were so left alone. We became so disconnected. We didn't pay a lot of attention to our own kids in some ways. So then you wind up with what you got for the Gen Z. And the Gen Z were raised by a system, a perverted system. A system that has been so broken for so long. Everything they're doing now, they tried when we were younger. Now it's all the climate crisis. Well, we had that too. We had the acid rain and the ozone layer, and now they're going after cows again, and it was cow farts back then. It was the hairspray and the aerosol cans and all that stuff. Nothing's changed. It's all the same. They just changed the name. They just changed the approach. And the big difference now is they get mad if parents want to be involved and want to know what they're trying to tell kids. And if they are afraid of you knowing what they are teaching your children, then they shouldn't be anywhere near your kids. Because nobody should be afraid to tell you what they are talking to your kids about, or what they are doing with your kids, or what they are teaching your kids. And if they don't want you involved, if they think it's none of your business, they are wrong, they are corrupt, they are perverse, and they have a problem. Now, I know there'll be some, when it comes to this part, there'll be some teachers that'll watch it and they'll agree with me that parents should be involved and parents should know what their kids are learning. Otherwise, you wind up with what you have today, and it's not good. So I want to continue saying, as the unofficial, self-appointed mouthpiece of Generation X, here we go. I am here. I'm going to rant. You know what? I've had enough. I've been nice all this time, and I think it's time to turn it up a little. I always say when people don't listen or people get upset at you, then it's time to crank it up. People want to talk about stereotype. You crank that sucker up 1,000%. Well, all Gen X's are Karens now. No, we're not. You see, a Karen isn't related to a generation. A Karen is a mindset, okay? And a Karen is mostly somebody who comes generally from the upper middle class suburbs and has always been there and has never actually had to live in the real world. You know what we have now with a lot of the Gen Z and all the crap they're being told and all these safe spaces and all these separate areas and all that? That's going to be an entire generation of Karens, because none of them are being shown what the real world is like. And then when they get into it, they are shocked, they are hurt, they are unprepared, and they cannot manage to deal with it. Anyway, this is your mouthpiece. I'm out.